Jessica here with Joyful and Simple Designs. Today we're going to be making this fun summer serving tray. Before we get going too far, I did get a stencil off of Etsy. I think I searched lemon stencil, and so that's what I cut out for the serving tray. So to start with, we are going to cut our wood down, so let's get going. So to start with this project, I am going to take this 24-inch round, and I got this at Home Depot. I want to cut this in half because I'm going to make this into 2 different cutting boards. You are also able to get 18-inch rounds from Home Depot, and I'm not sure if they provide those all over, but I have access to them. You can also make your own rounds, and it's pretty easy with the router. That's how I've made them in the past, but I got this pre-made one just to make it a little easier. I'm gonna cut this in half. Okay, so to cut this in half, this is actually the actual measurement of this round is 23.5 inches. So I'm gonna be cutting this in half at 11.75 inches, and my saw, I know I've talked about this before, but from the blade to the guard is 1 inch. So I know from where I want my cut to be, I need to add 1 inch to that measurement because I'm gaining 1 inch here. So I'm going to make it a mark at 12 3/4. And that is where I'm going to place my level. And this is just going to be like where I'm going to put my saw. It's going to keep me straight. So that's where I'm going to place my level. And because this is a round, I'm not going to measure from 2 points. If it's off just a little bit, you're not going to be able to notice like you would for a square. So I'm going to clamp this level on because this is going to be my guide for my saw. Tell my kids were playing with this earlier. Okay. And I'm going to be using the skill saw today. I think that's going to be the safest route. The table saw would probably be pretty awkward to cut it on and unsafe, as well as like a chop saw. You definitely want your wood to be on the your fence. So I think this is my safest route here. We're ready to cut. I'm using this level as my guide. I do have this round up on some 2x4s. Sure if this saw is strong enough. It took a little work, but I did get my round cut in half. And I'm gonna take my clamps off. So I am going to make 2 different serving trays. And we're just gonna go through one because they'll basically be exactly the same, just different colors. So the first step that we're gonna do is we need to give this a little sand before we paint. And I am going to be painting with just plain old white, nothing too crazy. So let's sand these down. And I'm just gonna give these a really quick sand. These rounds come pretty well. They're usually in good shape. So I also really don't like to sand inside the garage. So I'm gonna make it really quick because it's already dusty enough in here. Okay, I'm gonna just give this a layer of paint, maybe two, depending on what the first one looks like. I am going to be painting over the top of this, so I want it to be thick enough that I don't see the wood under it, but it doesn't need to be like a complete solid white. Alrighty, once your half around is completely dry, we are going to apply a stencil. So I cut mine on the Glowforge. I'm gonna weed out the parts that I'm gonna paint. And I use this contact paper for applying my stencil. I already have a chunk that I'm going to use. And I'm just gonna apply it on. I'm gonna flip it over, take the backing off. And this stencil is just a touch bigger than my round, so I'm just gonna center it as best as I can. I am not going to go crazy with trying to make it perfect, but if you like things to be lined up really well, then you can get a ruler out, or you can cut your round first, measure it, and then cut your stencil. I cut my stencil before I cut the round, so I just kind of guessed what size it was going to be. And so mine's just going to be a little off, but that's okay. So once it's centered, just stick it down. And now we need to take our contact paper off. So I just like to go slow. And then I'm going to come through and just make sure that my stencil is lying flat on all these little edges. And then I'm going to put a layer of tape on here, because I don't want this top portion to get paint. Okay, so we're ready for paint. I want this one to look like a lemon, so I'm just going to use some yellow. I actually have 2 yellows. I might do just a little bit of a mix. And I'm using a stencil brush. It's obviously been well used. I'm going to mix these colors together. And I'm just going to start applying. Now when I get to my edges, I'm going to make sure that I don't have too much paint on my brush, because it will bleed through if your brush is just caked in paint. So I'll probably do 2 or 3 layers of paint. For the outer edge, I do want that to be just slightly darker, so I'm going to use this darker yellow. Stencil. And now's the time that we are going to do some touch-ups. Okay, so I'm going to take my white and I have a spot right here. I'm going to get close so you can see that's bled out. So I'm going to show you how I fix that. So this spot right here has bled out of the stencil. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white on my paintbrush and I'm just going to cover it right up. And I'm going to get some spots that I just didn't paint very well on the first go. So I'm going to touch those up. And I'm going to add some lines here, nothing crazy, just to give it a little bit of dimension. I'm just gonna have some really light layers. And so once this is completely dry, we are gonna be ready for the next step. As you can see, this side has just a little bit of yellow and this has barely any. So I'm gonna just add some in, just to even it out a little bit. So depending on what you're gonna use this for is going to make a difference on what we do next. So if you plan on putting food on this, I would highly suggest you use a top coat. I really like the hold on, let me find it. So this is what I use a lot for top coats. It's not food safe, but it wipes down really well. So if you think you're gonna have crumbs or food on it, you're gonna want a top coat that you can clean. you're not going to want to put this in your sink since it's painted, so you're going to want to seal it really well. I don't plan on doing anything like that to mine, but I am going to put a top coat on it. I'm just going to use this. This is my go-to top coat. So I'm just going to do probably 2 coats on this, and then I'll flip it over and I'll do a coat on the back as well. I'll make sure I get all the edges really nice too. This will just help protect it from daily use. And then after this is all dry, we'll put some handles on it. Once your top coat is dried, we are going to add some handles. So I got these from Home Depot. I like these ones for serving trays because you screw in from the top. I don't have to pre-drill any holes. So I have my handles ready to go. And these, they call them door pulls. And I'm not gonna measure the placement because the half circle is already wonky. I'm just going to kind of center it in the white from this first triangle. So I'm not gonna make it perfect. I'm just gonna go for it. Okay, your serving tray is all done. It's such a fun summer color. I hope that you enjoyed this project and that you get to use your tray the rest of the summer.